Alrighty, Lionel with you, and this is another side of midnight. You got to figure out which side that is. An alternate side, an alternate layer, perhaps an alternate stratum of midnight. 2 hours past midnight. Oh, we can go on and on with that. Anyway, my friends, here's one of the great oxymorons. Happy Memorial Day. I've never understood that. Happy Memorial Day. But we say it. And we will do our earnest. Most people will do their earnest to say, and don't forget the people who died so that you could have freedom. Freedom isn't free. Okay, now let's move on. And then they just forget the whole thing and it's off to barbecues. And as I said last evening, morning, whatever it is, and I'm not going to reiterate. I'm not going to perorate. I'm not going to repeat. But there's something that I find very problematic with people who love to say that somehow Memorial Day is, oh, well, it happens because in a free society, freedom isn't free. They love to say that. Freedom isn't free. So don't worry about this. It's bound to happen. When you say this, you can unintentionally, and I'm going to say this again, encourage this kind of a collective acceptance of sacrifice, of death, and of war as, well, as inevitable, natural, even noble parts and conditions of maintaining liberty. It happens. And the phrase conditions and habituates and I guess coordinates people into thinking that the cost of freedom as permanent and unavoidable, and that framing loss and conflict, these aren't tragedies to be prevented, but is necessary. You're paying your dues. That is the most dangerous thinking. And I want you to think about this always. Never remember, stop, and always ask yourself, because I'm telling you, there's something very scary sometimes. Patriotism is a wonderful thing if you can define it. But for the most part, it can be always misunderstood. Anyway, my friends, I don't want to start too heavily. By the way, I find the contrast is so terrific with the great Dr. Sky, his dulcet, mellifluous tones, the sonorous, this kind of like unctuous, the sound of his basso profundo. He's the sonority of Dr. Sky. And me, well, I was best described one time as Curly Howard on Benzedrine. And by the way, we have two people working the helm. Who is it? Dr. Sky said, stewarding the helm, as it were. Of course, William Mee, who is the doctor of love, the doctor of groove, the doctor of soul, the doctor of cool. And our good friend Elias, who was, we had him late at night years ago, and yes, who makes that noise? It's a hoot owl, I think, or a dove. I have no idea. Or some type of anesthetized bird ready for the anesthesia to take in. But a man by the name of Elias, who's taking your phone call, who, by the way, covers the excitement spectrum from A to B, a man whose metabolism makes hibernating bears look like Rip Taylor in comparison. Now, most of what I've said you don't understand. And that's okay. I'm used to it. So just play along. Just nod in obeisance. But he's a wonderful chap. And he was really good. And whenever somebody's really good at their job, what do? They move them. They move them and they take you away. Ah, yes, indeed. And it's funny. Radio stations, I've been around a few here and there, and it's always great. Weekends and overnights are always the best of the best of the best. A lot of people who are ex-serial killers, people who are on the lam, people who have active warrants out for their arrest. Oh, I exaggerate, but not that much. My friends, tonight we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff, and as I take you into the depth, the bowels, the cloaca, the underbelly of the evening, whether you like it or not. And I want to start off, speaking of insanity, this fellow, as you know, decided to open fire at the White House, and he was dispatched. I was listening to a news version that says he was fatally wounded. You mean killed. You mean they killed him? Well, yes, but I didn't want to say that. What do you, say it? Well, he was gravely wounded. Was he hurt? Well, yes. He was mortally wounded. What is women? You mean killed? Well, not right away. Mortally wounded is when you shoot somebody or you hurt somebody or you hit somebody or whatever it is, and they die later on. It accelerates the death process. Oh, interesting. Just like on YouTube. On YouTube, you can't say suicide. You say self-harm. Because for some particular reason, they don't want you to say that. You can't say murder. You got to say unlived. People say this. Oh, another word too on YouTube you can't say is pedophile. For some reason, I don't know why. Which, by the way, one day we'll get into the etymology of the word. But the word pedophile really means somebody who has an attraction for. And that's never what we mean. We mean people who are predators. Nobody ever refers to a rapist as a person who has attraction for women. You know, it's just this typical inarticulate nature of our point, because we will euphemize things to the point of complete and total confusion. But anyway, they say the word PDF file. This is how sad it is. It's so sad. We live, by the way, we're fighting for our freedom. Remember, people died for our freedom. Here I am couching my words. Let me ask you a question. Do we really have freedom? Can you say whatever you want? Hell no. Where did that come from? Whoever started that lunacy? You can't say whatever you want. Not at all. And maybe you shouldn't. But anyway, back to this fellow who was mortally, fatally wounded, whose appointment with the Grim Reaper was highly accelerated. I love these news cliches. It's just never, he will be missed. A parent's worst nightmare. Oh my God, it's like John Cameron, Swayze, get away from it. What happened? Tell me. They killed him. They shot him. They killed him. He's dead. Some poor guy was shot by accident, some innocent bystander. Collateral damage. Remember that during wars? Collateral damage. Well, here's the issue here. They said that he thought he was Jesus. Okay, now listen to this. I forget reading somewhere. They thought he was Jesus. Have you ever noticed, and by the way, please do not think of this as some kind of an attack on religion. Did you ever notice how nobody thinks they were Buddha, or nobody thinks they were Abraham or Allah, or it's always Jesus. Jesus is always the number one source of insanity. For some reason, I do not know why that is so, but I would have a real problem if I were Jesus with why me. There was a guy years ago, you probably don't remember this, around 52nd and Broadway, maybe, yeah, where he would say, repent, the end is nigh. Louis Nye. No, the end is nigh. How do I say this? They would always have this guy with a sign. And lo and behold, when he had this sign, this whatever, he was never arrested. He was not hurting anybody, but he had signs saying death and the end of time, the end of existence is as we know it. It's happening now. And they never said he was crazy. Well, I don't think they should. He might know something that we don't. Well, why does somebody who say they're Jesus, why are they crazy? Not being crazy doesn't mean they're right. So here's the best part. What do you think caused? And this is where I'd love to open up the phone lines. I love when they say that. Open up the phone lines. We have a real problem with insanity. Look no further than radio staff working overnights. I kid, of course. Please, I'm a kidder. But we have a real serious problem. What do you think causes somebody to do this? Do you think? Well, that's a real question. Do you think? But do you think that because of the anger, the venom, the this sick, horrible, terrible, rancid TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, the continuous harangue, this unrelenting hatred spewing towards the president is responsible. Question number one, is there responsibility? Number two, what's the difference between correlation and cause? Is there a correlation between smoking marijuana and heroin addiction? Yeah. Might not be a big correlation. Is there a correlation between breastfeeding and serial killing? Well, yeah, maybe not being breastfed might. So the correlation is a very interesting concept, because a correlation can also be the correlation of is a numerical factor. It might be 0.1, 0.001, or 0.9 or 1. Correlation at a 1 level means almost cause. Then there's cause. Something causes something. And also, my dear friends, I ask you at 800-848-9222. And by the way, remember, Elias is answering your phone calls. Please speak very loudly. His hearing is not what it used to be. It was a fertilizer accident years ago. I'd rather not go into details, but please, please do not call him Buddy or Chip. He hates that. Do not refer to him as that. I don't know why. He's a bit idiosyncratic, but 800-848-9222. You, of course, can weigh in with your thoughts on this. But the question is, do you think that by mentioning his name, this fellow's name, whose name I will not mention, that we are actually giving these poor souls the glory, perhaps the posthumous big time that they so desperately needed and demanded during their lifetime? Do you think that's true? Do you think that's true? I ask you. I ask you because I think that it would be wonderful, just as an experiment, if everybody in the news organizations, news and talk or whatever it is, would agree voluntarily, not under government edict, but agree voluntarily that the next time this happens, the next time there's some event like this, that we just say, you know what? Let's just not mention his name. Let's not show a picture. Let's not show his or read his social media manifestos. Let's don't do that. Let's make him anonymous. Let's give the singular reference to the world that he is insignificant. What do you say? I say that would be groovy, don't you? That's what I think we should do. We'll talk about that. And also, by the way, I've carved out so many great stories. Oh my God, the AI stories are just, the level of horrors that we are about to exhibit and experience, you cannot believe. So here is my point. Here is my issue. Here is my thought. I would like very much to listen to you as well, because you are the star of this. You are the reason God made Oklahoma, my friends. You are. You are. And listeners, of course, to Another Side of Midnight can, of course, expect a lot of things. Yeah, let me talk about UFOs every now and then, unexplained phenomena, true crime, politics, media manipulation, law, culture, conspiracy theories, technology, history, and the stories the mainstream media often overlook and refuse to address, and for good reason. But you are the reason, as we say, God made Oklahoma. You are it. And I also love the call of somebody who literally and actually has not a clue as to where he is, where we are, or what they're trying to say. And who better to field those calls than my good friend Elias, radio's answer to the Sitzbath. Our number 800-848-9222. Let me remind you again, to the point of exhaustion, this is Lionel, and this is Another Side of Midnight. Oh, yes, my friends. Our number 800-848-9222. As many twos as you would like. It doesn't matter. It's a free country. My friends, of course, this is the Memorial Day weekend. I'm not going to say Happy Memorial Day. That makes no sense to me. It's oxymoronic. But I think you know what I'm trying to say. We'll be here till 5 a.m. Eastern Time. I don't know when you get it where you are. Make sure you download the 77 WABC app so you can always have this. Make sure you are listening at all time. And by the way, remember, just to remind you that this is live radio right now. Everything you hear is by design. All of these people and all of these calls, every call you hear tonight, carefully crafted, filtered, edited, expurgated, reviewed, and channeled to ensure nothing but the greatest in listening pleasure or something along those lines. Let's go right now in no particular order of importance or time. Here's a person who called right away before I said anything. A fellow by the name of Dave in Pennsylvania called up. You're going to love this one. He called up, didn't know what I was going to say. So brace yourself, my friends. And by the way, hang on a second, just a minute. And lactating women and people with pacemakers should consult their physicians before listening to Dave. All right, Dave, let her rip, buddy.
I called because I wanted to wish you a happy American holiday weekend.
Thank you, Dave.
I am of clearer mind and body now. And Memorial
I'll be the judge
Day,
of that.
I'm working. I'm a working boy. I worked hard, and I worked on two patriotic projects. Two patriotic projects with UMass Amherst Stockbridge College of Agriculture in mind. Now, your friend there, what is his name? Elias?
That's right.
A fertilizer accident?
Hey, Dave, I want to say on behalf of a grateful nation, thank you so much for your call. And by the way, taking time out for calling us, your call is always, always welcome, except for now. I appreciate this. There's something about that daft, disconnected, and untethered thought delivered in this kind of an over-the-top yell. Alias. You know, I like that. Remember, Bill, the show called Alias Smith and Jones? This was a movie, I think it was Dak Rambo. Was it Dak Rambo and Peter Duell, if I recall correctly? And I think Peter Duell had a, is it Dak Rambo? Dak Rambo also maybe the Guns of Will Sonnet. This is when Walter Brennan, by the way, Walter Brennan, Grandpa McCoy, was a virulent racist, absolute, Klan member, like very serious. Did you know this? Walter Brennan, who, by the way, was the recipient of or nominated for so many Academy Awards, but he had this one line, no brag, just fact. And now from the ridiculous to the sublime, let's go to John on Long Island. John, you're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Good evening, Lionel. Good morning, Lionel.
Good day, sir.
Maybe a meaningful Memorial weekend, a meaningful Memorial Day instead of a happy Memorial Day.
Indeed.
Or a reflective Memorial Day.
Do you think anybody reflects on it seriously?
I try to. I go to the National Cemetery and I help decorate the graves with a one.
Now that is wonderful. Now that is something to be said, and that is to be commended. Let me ask you something. If you went to the Vietnam Wall, the memorial, and somebody asked you, John, what did these men die? And I'm sure there must be women, nurses or whatever. But if they ask you, why did they die? What would you say, sir?
Oh, man, that's a really tough question. So many people have, their own personal reasons for joining the military.
Let me ask you a question. Very simple. Rather than that, they died because they were in a war. They died because their participation in our military, either through volunteer, through draft, sent them to a place where they were killed. I kind of break it down that way. Is our freedom of speech, constitutional liberties, was it in any way guaranteed by any of those deaths on that wall in Vietnam? Your ability to speak now.
No, I would have to say no, in no way.
See, so this is what I wish we would do. I wish that we would sit there and say, never again. This is obscene. This is where we should be humiliated by how we allow this to happen. But we've got to stop framing this not as dues paid. Those are the breaks, but that tragedies that have to be prevented. I wish somebody, the next time we say, somebody were to suggest that hostilities or a ceasefire, hostilities will be interrupted. Interrupted. Why? Because war is obscene. Because this is disgusting. I wish we would look at it. I wish we would care as much about how insane it is. I am killing people. I am blowing up not only infrastructure and military personnel, but innocent people for what exactly? Why is this necessary? Well, to make a point. We've got to make a point. And we've got to stop this knowledge. And one of the reasons is to stop glorifying it. And when you tell people that, and by the way, a lot of people, they don't mean any harm by this. Those people who they have nothing to do with this. Nobody asked me my opinion. Anyway, I don't mean to pontificate, but John, I think it's something that we need to readdress. It's the way maybe it's our own language, our own nomenclature, our own ability to explain this. But anyway, sir.
Well, I think as long as war remains profitable to some people, it's never going to end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you know what's interesting? One of I believe it was either Daniel or Philip Berrigan, one of the Berrigan brothers, or Emma Goldman. I don't know, but the line used to be, voting doesn't work. And I'm not subscribing to this, but the phrase was, voting doesn't work because if it did, it would be illegal. And there's something to that. There's something. Did you ever see a little child? You put him in a car seat and it has a steering wheel on it. And you say, look, you can drive with grandpa or drive with daddy or mommy. Or, see, turn the wheel. And you give the child the impression that they have something that they're driving along. I'm going to give you the mechanism. It looks just like you're driving. It's got a wheel like mine, but it is no control. That's why I think sometimes we have these wonderful, how do I say this? These wonderful contraptions, these artifices of democracy. They look good. Hey, I got a voting card. I want to turn out.
Choice.
Yes.
Choice.
And I've got ranked voting too. Not only is my hallucination, meaningless, it's ranked. In any event, what are you doing this weekend, sir? Irrespective of the reason for the weekend, what are you doing, and how do you like this weather?
I don't really care much for the rain, though I always try to remind myself it's a necessity for many other people, agricultural, farmers and things like that. So I try to suppress my selfishness, by understanding.
John, I got to tell you, how old are you? May I ask?
Well, I will be 43 next month.
You are, first of all, you sound much older. And let me tell you something. You know why? Because of wisdom. Wisdom. You have this. You just gave me a great idea for having a new way to revamp weather. I would have John channel, whatever it is, perhaps John, the philosophical weatherman. And here comes John out. And you could wear perhaps a tam o' shanter and a meerschaum, maybe like an Ike jacket and pince nez and a riding crop. And you say, ladies and gentlemen, this week it's going to precipitate greatly. Now, I'm not going in any way to endorse that, nor am I in any way going to give you any false feelings of felicitation on my part. The farmers sure need it. That adage has been a part of our vernacular. Yes, indeed. And if you go on
As
into
long as
the
I
philosophy,
get to have suede elbow patches. As I have suede elbow patches, I think I'm in.
Yes, maybe an ascot would be nice. That. Yes, and also a lot of unnecessary corduroy. Anyway, John, I thank you, my friend. Please call me back. It is wonderful to know that at this witching hour, there's somebody who at least has a degree of mentation still available. Thank you so much, good friend. Let's go instead to a man who claims to be Al, and he further claims to be in Yonkers. Al, you're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Hey, Lionel. Good morning. I just want to expand on the question you asked John previously about Vietnam. I just wanted to touch on that. I just want to say we were in Vietnam because we went there to fight the expansion of communism.
Right.
That's why we were there.
Right. You don't believe that, do you?
Well, I had an uncle who was there. He fought in Vietnam.
That's not the answer. That has nothing to do with it. That's like saying, and today's Sunday. No. You don't believe that the reason. Now, granted, I mean, or that a valid reason was to stop the expansion of communism. That was just erroneous. That was if that indeed was what they really meant. If they sincerely meant that, which I don't really think they did, but that was the reason. You don't believe that, do you?
Well, you know what? I mean, if you see what happened after World War II, you saw what Stalin did with the satellite countries like Bulgaria, Romania, and Ceausescu in Romania. So I think it was partly true because the presidents all the way to Kennedy, they were afraid of what would happen in Asia. And then what we saw with Cambodia with Pol Pot, the killing fields.
What you're doing is you're giving examples of things like, and there were some crazy people, and there was Mao, and you're saying, and you're just throwing out despotic people, and you're saying, so therefore Vietnam was pretty good because, I mean, after all, there was Stalin, and Stalin, I hate to tell you this, said specifically, "This is mine." The way we say, "This is mine." Now, I'm not saying it was correct, but even McNamara later on said, and I interviewed him, and he told me flat out, and in his book or whatever, The Fog of War, in the documentary, he said the biggest mistake was not to understand this was a civil war. Ho Chi Minh started, he basically was using our Constitution as the framework of what he wanted to accomplish. But we said, oh, no. Because we had a problem with the alliances with the French. So what we did was we came up with this thing, communism. And just like we did before that, it was anarchy. Anarchy was a problem, but communism, and people said, oh, they just nodded their head, and the domino effect. And then later on, what was it? After communism, terrorism. Yes. Al-Qaeda, ISIS, ISIL. Remember all the names? ISIL. Don't these names sound like something from like Jackie Mason and Yentl? ISIL, Yentl, Heimel, Hyman, Al-Qaeda, ISIL, Hyman. It's just these ISIL, IS, Daesh, Boko Haram. Remember these? Remember who was it?
It just, Vietnam, it was a big mess. It was unfortunate. It really haunted Johnson.
And we didn't learn a thing. We didn't learn a thing, my friend. Anyway, but that's not why you called. You want to talk about killers' names.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people who, you said a lot of them do to get fame, like the ones who do like a horrific act like tonight. I don't believe for the most part they do. I think it's mostly has to do with so many of them are mentally ill, and we see it more and more. We've seen the attempts on the president happen so much more than they used to, which is a terrible situation. But I think
don't know about that. I don't know if that's even true. I don't even know, and I don't even know if they're mentally ill. We use this word mentally ill. Mentally ill for those who are in the biz. There's the legal. I am a lawyer, former prosecutor, and I will tell you this.
Yes.
We have something in this country called the McNaughton Standard. And what it means is simply this: to be not guilty by reason of insanity, not clinical insanity, but legal. You must not be able. Pardon me?
Like Hinckley.
No, well, I'll get to that in a moment. You must not know the difference between right and wrong. This is the McNaughton Standard. Now, there were others. There was the Irresistible Impulse Standard, the Durham Standard, the ALI-ABA Standard. At the time, the DC federal version of this was so loose. I mean, it wasn't even as strong as that. You basically had to be a little wacky. That has been since repealed. But here is the question. Whenever you see anyone try to secrete themselves, hide, conceal their weapon, lurk behind a wall, they're doing it because they don't want to be detected. Because why? Because it's wrong. Because they will be arrested. So by definition, this is one of those definitions that, according to, of course, as far as I'm concerned, legally, nobody's mentally ill. They know it's wrong. Now,
right.
The question is, in our society, we never say, but they might think that this is wrong because the Martians are telling them to do this. In fact, a lot of times, there was a case, I believe in New York, this is before it became popular, but somebody who pushed somebody in front of a subway or something, they asked him, why did you do that? Did you know it was wrong? He says, yes, but the voices told me to do it, and I didn't want to do it. Now, there is no legal situation for that. My favorite version of this is guilty but insane, which I thought was kind of a clever way around this. I am telling you that if I completely remove, if I evacuate any of the trappings, any of the accoutrement, any of the attendant benefits of this, fame, name, if in history, if Wikipedia said, May 23rd attempt, and just a gray, kind of like some NPC gray figure, name withheld. And somebody said, you mean they don't mention your name anymore? Nope. Huh.
Yeah.
You mean they don't live in infamy? Nope. Huh. They know enough. See, insanity, we have this idea of what insanity is. I want you to do, I want you to, little experiment. I want you to go to YouTube sometime at your leisure, and I want you to look up this, and you'll be addicted to this. Type in Karens being arrested. Normally crazy women, and I'm sorry, most of them are women. They're the best lunatics by far. But crazy women are Karens being arrested. Karens arrested for shoplifting. Karens, and watch what, because of body cam, watch what police officers have to go through. Now, here's the best part. All of these people, most of them on their way to work, at a Target, they're not hearing voices. They're not non-compos mentis legally. But they are out of their gourd. They live in a parallel universe of inappropriate, aberrant behavior disorders, inappropriate. Wow. I don't know what they are. They're not psychopaths. They're just effed up royally.
I'm definitely going to check that out, Lionel. Thank you.
Listen, Al, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Lionel.
Weekend. Thank you so much. Let's go to a man who goes by the name of Ed. He's in Evansville, and we're going to talk to him right now, much to our chagrin and dismay. Ed, you're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Hi, Lionel. So anyway, talking about the Karens and interjecting there, it's not that they're crazy; it's that they feel entitled and
yes,
and that lends to that. But I wanted to.
But that's also crazy. But that's also.
Yeah.
But that's also crazy. So you're
not
right.
Crazy or not guilty. I had the pleasure of hanging out with this psychoanalyst who wrote a couple of books. One was made into a movie. It was called Charlie, and
yes.
It was about this. And he wrote Flowers for Algernon. It was basically the same thing. It was like
I love that. I read that in high school. Yes, I love that.
There's another one, and it's a really twisted book about this guy. He was being convicted of rape, and he had 16 split personalities living in his brain like Sybil. And they were trying to free this guy, and they had to go work on his brain. And the way they did it, they brought these people in, and they tried to meld them together into one person or one being, and they found out that the act was committed by this the rape was committed by this lesbian who was living inside of him. So he somehow got off. But anyway, if you want to read a real strange book, it's called The Many Minds of Billy Milligan by Daniel Keyes. He's passed now, but very cool person to hang out with, and very, very strange. And that was.
By the way, may I stop you for just stop for 1 second? Yeah. You just gave one of my favorite euphemisms of all time. He didn't die. He passed. He passed.
You're right. I'm sorry.
No. I'm saying no. People say that all. People say that all the time. Anyway, go ahead.
He stepped off. Yeah.
He took it the wrong train. Anyway, go ahead.
He did. Also, I want to say something. Lots of reasons behind wars, and since the one movie, I think 2001: Space Odyssey, when we see the whatever tribe he lived with or belonged to, he found the bone and he was breaking it and smashing things, and he realized, hey, this gives me the edge. And when they were warring parties, hey man, he took off, and he was the man.
Ed, since most of your speech tonight, your dissertation has to do with movies and books. Did you ever see The Gods Must Be Crazy?
I did, and I loved that movie. And
that was the same thing. Remember, it was the Coke bottle.
Let's not spoil that for everybody. But yeah,
let's do it. Let's spoil it.
All right,
let's spoil it. The whole thing, shall we? No. But the idea was that
it fell out of a spaceship, right?
No, it was thrown out of a helicopter.
No.
But see, but you just ruined it. You just no. But I'm saying, but it goes to show you. It comes down to simply this, though. Here is the bottom line. The idea of war is something that is immoral. But what we do is we are so good at explicating and justifying and expatiating our behavior that we come up with reasons for it. And we have great reasons, and we really believe them. And then we have, my favorite is somebody who, to me, they're going to put this guy in a museum one day, is Lindsey Graham. This is Gomer Pyle meets, I don't know what, some mad scientist or something. And I'm thinking, this can't be happening. Have you noticed two people I find interesting. One is Lindsey Graham because it's laughable, the stuff that he says. The second one I like, and again, a kind of a Southern, is John Kennedy. And he says nothing, but he says it in such as whimsical, these stories. He'll be doing but he'll do, for example, there'll be a Senate confirmation on the judiciary, and he says, one day we had a coon dog named Toby. And I'm thinking, where are you going with this? And then he runs out of time, and then he says, that's just stupid. Now, what has he accomplished? I have no idea. What legislation has he passed? I have no idea. But he's charming. He's funny. He doesn't say anything. He just gives you stories. These wonderful, wonderful stories.
Oh, he's an orator for sure. Let me say one last thing, Lionel, please. These kids today are deprived, not depraved. They missed out on a whole generation. Like we had all the games, like broad Monopoly and stuff. But there's one real cool game. It's called the game of Risk, where you build up the blocks in these countries, and you try and.
I loved it.
I think that's the reason for war. We're trying to you want to stave off your enemies by, I'm going to take over this area. Let me go and put some blocks in our land, or why do you do that? Well, it's strategic, but That's it, Lionel. Thanks for letting me go tonight. I appreciate it.
Ed, I thank you, and I have let you go, my friend. Let's go to Tom in Chicago. You're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Hey, how's it going, Lionel?
Good, sir.
I would like to say, I don't like war either. I would think that people in Congress and Senate, they should, when we make a decision to go to war, they should be the first ones to have a loved one on the line. And I think people they'll see things different.
Oh, I agree. And if also, not that I advocate it, but if we had a draft, it would be completely different. Absolutely.
Right. So, and another thing, this thing, you're a prosecutor. When you say this kid that shot at the White House today, and they gave him his name, why would you say on the news they'll say all his past history, right? They go through that, but they never say even in like here in Chicago they'll say, oh, he's a murderer, such and such. They go through his history. They never say about the precinct, the cops that says, okay, this precinct is known for this or known for that.
Right.
Why they don't do that? You know what I mean? Instead of docking the people up, they say, okay, we caught him, or he's dead, or whatever. But they never go through the precincts or say, oh, this cop is known for this. We had a cop here at Burge that tortured people into convictions and things. They never say that he did that. The format that he did to prisoners and things of that nature to get them to conviction.
Well, they also will say, just because somebody says something. For example, if I had tonight on Channel 9 News, Tom from Chicago has, none of these people are serial killers. I'm going to have you go and point out Facebook, manifestos, and you're going to show them, and all of these people sound insane, but none of them killed anyone. So the point is, the craziest people, most people don't hurt anybody. And there are some people, put it this way, Albert Fish, perhaps one of the most depraved serial killers of all time, or murderers, never had a Facebook account. It's phenomenal. My friend, I thank you. I'm sorry, sir.
What about this one? One last one. When people say, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that. How do we know that right there is like, you know what I mean? You don't know.
Tom, I thank you again. Tom, again, your wisdom, your sapience is without peer. Thank you so much. This is Lionel with you on another side of midnight. Determine what kind of bird is cooing or hooting or whatever this particular sound is. I think the initial intent was to convey an owl, perhaps. I'm not really sure. Perhaps maybe an eagle might be appropriate. I still think the not the cucamonga, but what's the Australian bird? In any event. All right, my friends, I thank you so very much. Let's go back to the phones, back to the fun. Let's go to Lucas in Bayonne, New Jersey. Lucas, you're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Yeah, hey, Lionel. You're talking about, the Jesus people, the people that think they're Jesus. And I think there's a long history in this country about, going further back. Most people aren't comfortable talking about this. And I'm talking MK Ultra, but not only MK Ultra, because we know that there's a specific goal of the government to fragment the person's sense of who they really are. And this is deliberate, it's scientific. And when you fragment a person completely, sometimes you fill a void, something that's not there.
What about just plain old insanity? Just plain old garden variety insanity, delusions of grandeur. What about that? Nothing special, just garden variety crazy.
It isn't. It's coming from the government. It's the MK Ultra. It's the Jesus.
Why is it coming from the government? Why? Before there was MK Ultra, before there was any kind of experimentation by the government or whatever, we saw this behavior. So how do you know it's the government?
As far as I remember, going back to the 90s, I had a cousin who came back from a government-adjacent program. I don't want to say which one it was. He came back.
Why don't you want to say what it was?
I don't want to go too deep into this on air. It had to do with
I think you're already deep. I think you're already there, and I think they're already listening to you. And I think it's imperative that you tell us what it is.
They're listening to everything, but he came back loud. He was quiet. He had things to say, big things about his purpose, his specific purpose on this earth. He thought it was one thing. I'm not so sure anymore what it was, but what I do know is that sometimes there are things that people are exposed to by the government, and I think that's a big part of what it is. And if we don't realize that, if we don't.
It's funny. Bill and I were saying just today, look at Elias. But, aside from that, you're right, though. There have been cases. Look at Whitey Bulger, who was part of MK Ultra, the Ted Kaczynski. It has happened. There's no doubt about that. But sometimes there is plain old, nothing special, kind of ordinary, garden variety, run-of-the-mill, bat blank crazy that happens for a variety of reasons that we've never been able to figure out precisely. I'm not trying to in any way discount the possibility of there being a governmental connection, but sometimes it's even easier. Lucas, I thank you so much, my friends. Maybe you're a split personality. I think I told you this before, that one of the greatest things which provided me with, I think, an ability to handle the world of radio is, of course, being in the criminal justice system, but also being a psych major. And the first time I ever visited, not as a patient, but visited as a visitor, we had this county psychiatric hospital in Florida, where I'm from. Not Florida. I'm from Florida. This is more redneck with Withlacoochee. And I'm telling you, I saw stuff that absolutely, positively blew my mind. You know what's interesting? This music right now could completely quell any kind of horrible activity. Let's assume there was a riot that were breaking out, and instead of us trying to stop the riot, I decided instead to just play this music on loudspeakers. Who could do it? Our number is 800-848-9222. More coming up on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Remember, no matter how insane, inane, or germane your calls are, we're always willing to talk to you. Why? Because it's the middle of the night, for God's sakes. We'll talk to anybody. I kid, of course, because it's true. Stay tuned. Now, Mr. Lee, by the way, William Lee, of course, the Right Reverend William Lee, who is at the helm, stewarding the helm, piloting us through the abyss, through the miasma, through this absolute veil of obscurity here. Speaking of sounds, Bill, I don't know if you have this handy, or if I don't want to ruin. We just played the beginning of that wonderful theme from Gypsy Kings, Niña Morena. But if you listen to the very first part, either the timbales or whatever that percussion is, it sounds exactly like the sound that Fred Flintstone's car would make, or that he would make before he took off in his car, which he, of course, would propel. See that? Stop. Doesn't that sound like it? Can't you see Fred's? Life is like that. The Flintstones, still one of the greatest things of all time. But it just goes to show you. See, I got that one right away. We're still trying to figure out the sound of this bird that is being played. And by the way, I would ask you to send in via mail your thoughts and comments as to what kind of bird this is, but God knows when I'll receive it. Inside joke there. Nothing like inside. We had one of these program directors one time. He says, what you're saying is inside. I said, yes, I know that. Yes, but it's an inside joke. I said, yes, I'm aware of that. Okay, all righty. Just wanted to let you know. Program directors. Don't get me started with that one. Remember the old joke? Those who can do, those who can't, program direct. I kid, because it's true. Ladies and gentlemen, our last caller really got things going when he spoke of MK Ultra and the like. I love that stuff. I have always loved it because, believe me, do you realize that what you're being told in any kind of a news format is basically the top layer, the veneer, the top version of what it is they're trying to explain to you. It's like the surface level of what this thing is. But I want to tell you some other things which are so interesting. Speaking of which, and I was talking to Alias, as we call him, and he turned to me and he said, "Huh? But this is a fabulous story. Mental health disorders have doubled since 1990. And he goes, well, that's 36 years, but it now affects 1.2 billion people worldwide. And the story is there is a sweeping new global study published in The Lancet, and it found that mental health disorders have nearly doubled worldwide since 1990, with almost 1.2 billion people now living with some form of mental illness. Anxiety and depression showed the sharpest increases, with researchers warning that mental disorders have now become the leading cause of disability, globally surpassing cancer and cardiovascular disease. And the deeper debate surrounding these numbers goes far beyond medicine. Many analysts have argued that the explosion reflects not simply better diagnoses, but profound changes in modern life itself. Social isolation, economic insecurity, collapsing community structures, endless digital stimulation, and algorithm-driven, interesting pun there, social media environments are increasingly viewed as major contributors to psychological distress. Some researchers point specifically to declining social connectedness, chronic stress, and online comparison culture as major drivers behind worsening mental health. And how are most of these anomalies seen and manifested? That's right, by overnight call screeners. That's right, my friends. Call screeners, it has been shown, represent some of the most demented of all individuals, but I don't have time for that particular anecdotal bit of pseudoscience, but I'll make it up as I move along. We are awash in mental illness, and young people in particular screaming, "I'm anxious, I have anxiety." Imagine telling your parents years ago during my generation, "Hey, Dad, leave me alone. I've got anxiety." "Oh, you do, huh?" Really? Remember parents in the 60s who coined this phrase, "Oh, you're crying? I'll give you something to cry about." That was parenting. Tough love. "Oh, you think you're upset now? I'll show you what upset is." "Oh, you think you're hurt now? I'll show you what hurt is." These were parents who loved us, who basically showed our love to us by threatening to harm us greatly, were we to stop with this belly aching. In any event, this caterwauling. Our number is 800-848-9222. Ladies and gentlemen, this is amazing. Alex from Long Island City is calling, and I believe he has an answer to the mysterious bird sound at the beginning of our show. Alex, you're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
It could be wrong, but I believe it's a mourning dove, which is basically a pigeon.
Thank you.
Or an owl.
Oh, wait a minute. Or, is that you doing this? Are you making, or an owl? I like this. Alex, you would be a great diagnostician. Mr. Brownstein, you either have rectal prolapse or pyorrhea. I don't know which one. I'm not sure. The answer could be true or false. I don't know. Nothing like certitude, Alex. Nothing like getting to the bottom of the answer. Or it could be.
If I could change the subject for a minute.
I think you just did.
I'm particularly enamored. I've always been of the old Lionel. I find you kind of subdued and muted these days, and I want the manic street prophet back, please. No. First of all,
the time frame would alarm people greatly. Number one. Number two, You must understand certain environments appreciate this. You see, Alex, you've got to understand also that you've got to make sure you have the audience. Now, I'm not going to go any deeper than this, but the fine folks who inhabit this current iteration of radio excellence, I do not feel would be necessarily as charmed by this constructive performative mania as you are. That's all I'm saying. Know the audience.
Loving you.
Isn't that a song? I Can't Stop Loving You, I think was the song. I think Dean Martin Ray Charles made that big. Anyway, Alex, thank you, my friend. And thank you for your enfeebled attempt at identifying this sick. By the way, also, this bird, this sound that we play, is also ill. Whatever it was, cannot be doing well. Let's go to Mike in Queens. Mike, you're on another side of Midnight with Lionel.
Yes, first of all, I think you should switch to the kookaburra at 4 o'clock in the morning, because
that's
a wake-up
exactly
bird.
it.
That's the coolest bird ever. Yes. So
my favorite, indeed, sir.
Yes, and moving forward with new business. Just throwing it out there. If someone says they're going to go to a psychiatrist and they see a psychiatrist and get therapy, I throw this to you, sir. Since you're a lawyer and you've been a prosecutor, if you see a psychiatrist and go into psychotherapy, does that mean you can just break the law for the rest of your life without going to jail for any real length of time? Because to me, it seems like more and more people are saying, "Oh, I was crazy then, but now I'm not crazy because I'm taking my medication and I just want to go home," versus jail. And I'll take my answer off the air.
Okay, very good. The answer is maybe. Thank you. It depends. No. First and foremost, let us not laugh about the notion of mental illness, because this is very, very sad. As I was alluding to before, not only alluding but reporting, the findings that I mentioned before are alarming, especially regarding young people. Teenagers between 15 and 19 today now experience some of the highest burdens of mental disorders globally. Many fear younger generations are growing up inside permanently online environments where identity and validation and self-worth are increasingly mediated through screens and algorithms. They live there. And online reactions reveal also growing skepticism about whether modern society itself has become psychologically unhealthy. Just look at the world of overnight radio. One widely shared comment described the numbers as evidence of a deeply sick, hyper-stressed global society, arguing that mental illness may increasingly reflect structural and cultural breakdown rather than isolated personal pathology. And finally, my friends, others caution that rising numbers may partly reflect reduced stigma and improved diagnosis compared with previous decades. Still, my friends, the scale of the increase has intensified. As you can imagine, concerns that many, many people have that humanity and our collective society may be facing not only a mental health crisis, but a broader crisis of meaning and stability and human connection in the digital age. Oh, I find it fascinating. We are seeing right now some of the oddest and strangest of people. I have seen more people right now who are not mentally ill, but is it me? Have you noticed, especially, dare I say, the younger folks, the ones who cannot make eye contact, the ones who don't know how to shake hands, the one who are enslaved by this? I don't know what it is. And I think COVID really did it. That was the flame to the gas main, so to speak. That potentiated the insanity. when people couldn't go outside, when they were inside and they were binge watching Netflix and getting DoorDash and walking around. It gave us the pajamas or PJs or pajamas. Go to JFK. Go ahead. Just please leave right now. Go to any terminal and look at the people walking around. It's like they just got out of bed with their slides and their little mid-ankle socks and this kind of a childish, it's like the only thing missing is their teddy bear. We live in a world of really sick and hyper-indulgent people. Remember, we lived in a society where people had their DEI categories, their pronouns. You notice how when you get emails, you don't see that stupid pronoun business. And every now and then I've noticed something too, which is a very, very serious. I cannot be more serious about this. I saw recently there was another biological man competing against women in some athletic event. And this biological man was somehow trying to still perpetuate this insanity that they are to be treated as a woman merely because they identify as a woman, even though they are born with all of the accoutrement of being a man. And I thought that was nuts. Now imagine if you are young, coming up, and in your environment, you're actually told that gender, that's right, that gender could actually be something that you elect. It's insanity, dear friends. Absolute, total, 100% insanity. My friends, our number is 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. We will continue with your thoughts and your brilliant observations on this, Another Side of Midnight. This is another Side of Midnight. By the way, just now, you probably don't hear these things. We hear them. There are these various public service announcements and every conceivable disease or malady or social harm is they're still good. And lo and behold, what did we hear? That's right. Smokey Bear. Only you can prevent forest fires. The forest fires we have today are most probably deliberately caused by either directed energy weapons and blue lights that can be seen from above. But I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to go to Dick in New Jersey. Dick, you're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Hey, Lionel, hope you didn't forget me. Anyway, know what keeps me up at night?
Is that a joke? Just explain that joke for me.
Well, some people call up and say they called last week, and you say, "Oh yeah, you expect me to remember who you are?" That's why.
And you expected me to know that was the joke. Oh, I see. Okay, good. I got you. I'm with you.
Okay. Whatever happened to the rabbit's foot?
That is a
Remember
great
we were
question.
kids, we had a rabbit's feet?
Yep. I'm sure baby Peter.
I guess they didn't want to cut them. Again.
No. That's a good question.
I was wondering
if
they didn't want to cut the feet off a rabbit so you could put it on your keychain or something. I don't know.
You know what's interesting is I would have loved to have been with you when you designed this approach to this topic. Like, were you sitting there and did you have a few shots and you said, "Here's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to start off with this. This is always a killer. I'm going to bring up the rabbit's foot question. They're going to love this."
Okay. Actually, I called you about a legal question.
All right.
Okay, years ago, I had to forfeit my license.
Why is that?
And reckless driving, okay, which is foolish.
You didn't have to forfeit it. They took it.
Right, they took it. Okay.
Right, okay.
When they say
forfeit sounds like you
over,
had some, like you had something to do with it. Like, okay, I give up. Here you go. You can have it.
Well,
no, they swiped
what
it.
happened was I paid the fine, the fee off. Mm-hmm. I go down to the court clerk. I said, "Can I have my license back?" He said, "We don't have it." I said, "You don't." I have to go back to motor vehicle and pay $11 to get my license. Mm-hmm. I go back to the court clerk. I said, "Can I have my $11? What do you mean? I said, the license, I own the physical license. Okay? You own the privilege. It's my property. I want it back. I went to the court
wait a
clerk, got me a check for $11, right?
Okay, right.
Now, if you impound my truck, I have to pay the fee to get it out and the storage fees. You don't destroy it. It's my property. Mm-hmm. When you check into the jail, you give your possessions up. They put it in there. They log it in inventory. And when you get out of jail, they give it to you, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Do they owe me $11?
Well, I think you're talking about an actual physical license itself,
yes,
and the legal right.
I bought it. They own the privilege.
No,
the state owns the privilege.
No, I don't know about that. I don't know. Believe it or not,
they
because
took my property. They didn't give it back.
Okay, you're right. You know what? We'll end this up saying you're absolutely right about that, Rich. You're 100% right, and I think you should go back to the DMV and use this same argument, and don't leave until they not only give you your license back, but punitive damages for the pain and suffering that you had to endure. Thank you, Dick.
My attorney said I was right. He said I was right, but
well, there you go.
About it.
And what can you do about that? All right, my friend. Thank you so much, Rick. That was riveting. Don't you think, my friend? That was riveting. It's hard to say, if you are serious about this, to say who owns what. You know, one of my favorite things, I love this, and I will say this again and again and again. But when I watch YouTube, and by the way, if there is anyone listening, anyone who is law enforcement, who has to pull these jadrules over, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, on behalf of a grateful nation, thank you. Thank you for having to deal with this, because this is my favorite. License, registration, and proof of insurance. Why'd you stop me? You ran a red light. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. You don't have any right to stop me. No, license and registration. Well, why? Why do I have to show you this? Ma'am, I just told you. You ran a red light. Or your license is expired. Wait a minute. You followed me? Yes. Whoa. You just picked me out. Well, ma'am, we can read any license we want. Yeah, but why me? Is it because I'm black? It's because I'm black, isn't it? Ma'am, I can't see in the cars. I'm behind you. I don't know who it is. Then you have the seize tag order. This is when all of a sudden you hear the sound of the screwdriver taking the tag off of the car, because it similar to our last caller, it belongs to the state. And the car is then seized through legal caption that is put on the back of a Jerry Dan, and it is taken away. And they are saying, oh, you can't do this. Yes, you can. No, I'm not. Or, ma'am, get out of the car, please. Why? Please step out of the car. You can't make me get out of the car. Yes, I can, ma'am. Pennsylvania against Mims. Everybody who watches this knows this. This is a Supreme Court case that says, once I take custody of you, once you are detained under the Fourth Amendment, this is a seizure. I have stopped you. You are now in my custody. You are not free to leave. That's what in custody means. You're not under arrest, but I can detain you. I can even cuff you for my own safety while I'm questioning you. And I can sure as hell ask you to get out of the car. Now, if they say no, and this is what I always pray for, there is a little device which is very interesting. Tempered glass. It is so interesting how, if you look at if I took your driver's side window out, if I could replace it and put it on the ground, I could jump on top of it and it wouldn't shatter, because I would be kind of spreading the force out. But if I take this little device, it looks like a punch device. It's got a little spring, and it doesn't look, it looks like a little, like a pen. And in the lower right corner or left, or whatever, if I just pop it, it shatters the whole thing. They have these little balls, these little metal, they look like the size of a cherry with little spikes. And if I throw them, it shatters the window. With that comes the police officer reaching in, unlocking the door, and grabbing these people, and they end up face down, screaming and yelling. And they're saying, what are you charged with? You're under arrest. For what? Here's the best line. For obstruction. I'm not obstructing you. They're on the ground. They're not giving them licenses, and they don't give a license because it's suspended. But here's the best part in that circuitous introduction. Many people don't have a license, don't have a registration, don't have insurance. They don't know what you're talking about. They don't have an ID. Do you have an ID? Nope. Nothing. Do you have anything with your name on it? No. Do you have a debit card? No. I don't have a debit card. I may have other kinds of cards, but not a debit card. Do you have a credit card? No. Nothing. Nothing. Don't you have a proof of insurance? No. And they're on their phone, and they will immediately call their mother, their brother, their father, and they'll hold their phone out like some kind of like garlic or a cross to Dracula, and they say, "I'm filming this." And you cannot believe this. My point is, there are people who know nothing. Most of us, you get the thing in the mail. I've got to get my little inspection sticker. I got until the end of the month, and you act accordingly. I've got to pay for I've got my registration undone so I can put my new sticker or whatever. No problem. I've got to renew my license. No problem. I've got to get the new real ID by such and such. No problem. I've got to file taxes or extensions or whatever it is. No problem. We do this. We do this all the time. We do this all the time. There are people who cannot do this. They have no ability whatsoever to keep track of things like administrative rules, responsibility. It is incredible. Let's go to the phones by the way of this fellow named Benjamin in Forest Hills. Benjamin, you're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Good morning, Lionel.
How are you, sir?
Just Peachy Keen. I believe that if we could take Abraham Lincoln, Benjamin Franklin, somebody, transport him today, put him in today's hair clothing style, we'd say he's crazy, because he wouldn't have pesticides, he wouldn't have garbage, pollution, plastics, and he'd be calm and we wouldn't fit in. We think he's something wrong with him. That's what I believe.
Why is that, sir?
Because a lot of people are sick and from modern, from the Wi-Fi, the radiation, plastics, and modern pollution, and he wouldn't resonate with the energy that everybody else resonates. He'd be calm, and we think what's wrong with him? That's what I think.
These people, as you can imagine, you probably know, at the turn of I think it was the 20th century. I think at that particular point, even the median age of life expectancy was like 40. I mean, seriously, people did not live. Benjamin Franklin, to be 80 years old, was just might have been 1,000. They were very, very ill. Infant mortality was through the roof. They oftentimes found themselves tuberculosis. They were susceptible to more diseases than you could ever even imagine. They were far from bereft of the poisons that we live today. Granted, there might not be Wi-Fi, but do you believe that Wi-Fi, is there any evidence that Wi-Fi affects us, makes us crazy? Anything?
Oh, cell phone towers do, yes. I follow Gary Null, if you ever heard of him, and he has many articles. I also, Arthur Furstenberg wrote a whole book on it because he said that diseases he has the whole statistics that every time, like from radar, then to 1G to 5G and the radio waves, every time these things came out, the viruses.
That was disproved, right? That was an internet meme. It was wonderful. They said that during the 1918 Spanish influenza, what at the time was introduced to the population? Radio waves. And every time there was and if it went from radio initial to 3G, 4G, 5G, every time they did it, we had H1N1. And then when they went to 4G, it became something else. And the idea was that the increase in radio waves or radio power or whatever it was had a concomitant change in the incidence. And that was absolutely debunked. I remember, I can still see the chart now. It looks wonderful. Now, when you say, Gary Null says something, Null, it's funny, Null set, null and void. And I know he's very, very interesting man. But what if I said to you, well, Hendrik Witbooi says Gary Null is wrong. Do I win because I have somebody? You would say, well, who is Hendrik Witbooi? And I would say, well, who's Gary Null?
Well, you have a good point, but I'm not.
And how much
college debate here? So,
no, listen, Benjamin. I appreciate your call so very much. Always keep an open mind, but always ask yourself, how do I know what I know epistemologically? How do I know this? This is what nobody ever wants me to get involved in. But I have friends of mine who are very, very, very devout, and that's a wonderful thing. And I said, how do you know you're right? Well, what do you mean? I said, well, how do you know you're right? I had a debate one time, not a debate, but a friend of mine said prayer changes things. Prayer will change the course of sickness, illness, whatever it is. Prayer will. I said, how do you know this? Well, they've proved that. Well, how do you know that? Well, they've proved it. Yeah, but you keep saying that. How do you know? How did they prove this? What did they prove? What are you talking about? What? Let's go back to the phones, back to the fun. A man by the name of Sal in New Jersey is calling. Sal, you're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Good morning, Dominic. Dominic, I think we should get beyond political ideology.
Who is Dominic?
Lionel. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Good morning, Lionel. Lionel,
morning,
I think
Ed.
we should get beyond political ideology and get to a revolution of values, as Martin Luther King talked about. We should care more about people and about doing the right thing for each other.
What does that mean?
Society in general.
But what does that mean? How do we do that?
Well, we should put other people first. We should do our best to improve society instead of political instead of selfish gain.
Okay.
And material.
Tell me how we do that. Tell me how we do that. I agree with you. Tell me how we do it today. What do we do first?
We should stop we should stop emphasizing materialism.
Okay. How do we do that?
I don't know.
How do I do that today? Go into a store and say, hey, take all this stuff down. What are you people selling? What is the jewelry? What is this? This is materialism. Hey, you, stop that. Close this door. You, take off that diamond ring. Hey, you, what do we do? I'm serious. It's a great idea. How do I implement your idea?
Well, I'm not saying that people should stop buying material gain, but we should encourage people to stop buying material gain.
Give me an example.
Put other people first.
Let's say I'm on the street. Let's say I'm on the street and you see me. Tell me, what would be your method, your message to me, and as an example of what we should tell other people? Because I like what you're saying. How do we do it?
I don't really know.
You know what? I appreciate your candor, my friend. Thank you so much. That's Sal in New Jersey. I like things like that. I like kind of a lofty ideas that in no way can be actually put into practice, but it's good nonetheless. Let's go to Ray in East Pennsylvania. You're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Hey, Lionel. Did you ever hear about the Rosetto miracle?
Tell us about it.
There's a town called Rosetto outside of Bangor, Pennsylvania, and they had no cardiac incidents. Like, no one had a heart attack. No one had any problem with the heart. And they were trying to figure out why. And they were like, well, it's a hilly area, so they're walking up and down the hills. And,
how long ago was this? How long ago was this Rosetto? Just in this one area of Pennsylvania. Surrounding areas did not have this. but just Rosetto, Pennsylvania. How long ago was this?
This was in the 60s. So what happened was, at some point, somebody went to Italy and got a whole bunch of people to come over from Rosetto, Italy, to Rosetto, Pennsylvania. They named it after the town. And they had jobs in the slate quarry. And they were trying to figure out, like, why these people didn't have heart attacks. Well, in Bangor, the town next door over, they would have them. And, you know, they asked, was it the wine that they were making? Of
course, the wine. They always...
Right.
So what do you think happened?
Well, they finally came to the conclusion that the fact was everybody from Rosetto was a tight-knit community. They all had the same job. They all had the same pay. And they all used to, like, talk and hang out with each other and be happy.
Oh, my dear friend. Thank you so much for that. When we return, I'm going to tell you what the truth is behind the Rosetto miracle, what actually happened, and how it has absolutely nothing to do with what that wonderful caller just said. Why? Because that's kind of how he heard it. But that's not it. But sort of, but not even close. I'll explain that more with you. 800-848-9222. This is Lionel with you, and this is Another Side of Midnight. By the way, later on, I'm going to be taking my off-the-air conversations with Elias and put them up on YouTube as ASMR coma-inducing presentations. I like ASMR, that weird kind of a calming. Have you like that? Where you, oh, look, here's a machine. It makes pasta. Look, it cuts off the macaroni. And oh, look, they're cutting grass. Look, oh, look, this machine is bundling twine or something. And this supposedly brings you into this crazy world of ASMR. I like this whole notion of this new way of slowing down. It stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, which of course was the name of Bill's high school band in the late 40s. But it describes a pleasurable, static-like tingling sensation, people say, that typically begins on the scalp and moves down to other parts. They claim that watching certain things, certain sounds can make you calm. Or they also have, I also love this thing, they'll say, sleep-inducing history. I'm going to have Elias read to get people. I should be saying, I love him. Please, I'm not mocking the help. You got the wrong show, my friends. But I'm thinking to break people of their porn habit. I'll fix that. Here, read this. Okay, never mind. But you know, my friends, I was going to read something into the Rosetto effect, but I changed my mind. Because as usual, it's, well, that's not exactly what happened. It's sort of, but not really. And you always seem, not you, but people love to find the answer they're looking for. You know what I'm saying? It's like, for example, years ago, remember I was in Catholic school, and we rarely had priests, because we had nuns were the basis of our day. We didn't even have lay teachers. We had nuns, the old days. And lo and behold, this one priest came in and said, I forget what he said. There was a story of this young boy who wanted a red wagon. It's always a wagon for Christmas. Remember the Dragnet episode where Pepito, remember the kid who stole the wagon? No, stole the baby Jesus. I'm digressing, but those of you who watch Dragnet will know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so the story is this kid asks Jesus for ask God or Jesus for a red wagon. Anyway, Christmas comes, there's no red wagon, and the kid's crying, and he says, why? God didn't answer me. I prayed and God didn't answer me. And he says, no, son, he did answer you. He said no. So that taught me, I say, oh, I get it. You could just change any story to get the answer you want. That was my take. That, of course, was not the goal of the priest, who did not particularly care for my unique interpretation, but that's precisely what this was. It's one of those things that I will give you the answer that I want you to hear, and you will interpret it based upon the answer you want. Remember this, people will say, there was a time in this country when there was less crime. And there was less crime because why? Because we had prayer in school. That's the reason why? Well, we had prayer in school. Yeah, but we also had, smallpox. Or I'm just giving you. So you point to something and you say, that's the reason. Spare the rod, spoil the child. Well, in other countries, it never happened. Well, it's the violence of these video games. The violent video games were really seen most seriously in, believe it or not, in Japan, where they still are. But we don't have this concomitant rise of this vicious, sick behavior. Yeah, well, so it's not the video. Well, then what is it? It's a very, very, very dangerous thing to get into in terms of causation. As I always tell you, causation and correlation, two different things completely. But I want to give you this one. This is a new one. This is called digital enslavement, which I think should be the name of our show. Digital enslavement. It's a subtle weapon of social subordination. Oh, you're going to love this. And global control. See, let me explain this. Digital enslavement is the nuclear weapon of the future. And it's the idea that the thesis is that the greatest threat to human freedom in the modern age may not come from, military invasion or war or nuclear war, but from invisible technological systems capable of shaping human behavior and controlling information and gradually, little by little, eliminating independent thought. And the idea argues that digital technology has evolved beyond being a neutral tool and is becoming a mechanism of social management. Let me explain. The core idea is that if you look around the world, modern groups, modern populations, modern people willingly participate in their own surveillance. We do it, and conditioning. We do it all the time. Smartphones, no problem. Social media, AI assistance, facial recognition, biometrics, biometric tracking, digital banking, CBDC, central bank digital currency, which people are talking about, algorithm-driven platforms. All of this is collecting enormous gobs of personal data every second. And you know it, and you exceed, and you allow it. And that data allows governments and corporations to predict behavior and manipulate emotions and influence, if not direct, purchasing decisions and sales, and even shape your political beliefs. So the nuclear weapon comparison is, of course, philosophical, but nuclear bombs destroy bodies instantly. But digital systems, according to this particular theory, can allow and slowly reshape minds and habits and perceptions without physical violence. And the concern being presented is not, I guess one would say, not censorship, not in the usual sense, but dependency. See, once you, or once your group and your society, once it all becomes completely reliant on this interconnected digital, whatever this infrastructure is, and if you do that, use that for communication and money and transportation and identity, and whoever controls those systems gains control and power over your life. You are a slave to it. And people will look at you and say, well, so what? Because the worst part are young people in particular who were born in captivity who don't know anything. Let's go back to the phones, my friend. Back to the fun. 800-848-9222. Keith from Lost Wages. You're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
It's a good thing I don't gamble. Hey, let me tell you something. Let me bore you first. That bird you were thinking of is the kookaburra.
We already said that.
From Lost. Oh, yeah. I was talking to you? I thought I was talking to Elias.
No. We already, somebody called it the kookaburra. And by the way, to be great, Bill, if you could cook that up. In fact, Elias and Bill together do great imitations of that at parties. But that is not it right now. That's that weird. I don't know what that is. That's it. But we're gonna find this for you, and I'm gonna play it anyway. Keith, what's on your mind? And by the way, are you drunk or high? Because you're laughing far too much.
I don't do drugs or drink.
Well, that's the problem. You should do it because then at least you have something to blame.
And I hate Las Vegas. I wanted to say something about war.
Do you really hate Las Vegas?
I hate it.
Why? Tell me why.
I lost my daughter, who was born here. Born in California, but we moved to Las Vegas. She would have been 31 years old this year. She was hit by a car in Georgia. I hate talking about it. And I lost my mother last year. So me and my wife hate this place. It's the heat and just the memories.
Wait a minute. Stop. You lost your daughter, which I'm so sorry about, in Georgia, correct?
Yes, hit by a car, yes.
What does this have to do with Las Vegas?
Oh, well, because the memories, this is where she went to high school and elementary school.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. Okay. I didn't understand. Okay, I understand.
So,
all right.
A lot of family friends still here, a lot of her friends. So it's very, I don't have any of them around me, but they are around my wife. So we both.
But by the way, Keith, isn't Las Vegas kind of losing its luster? You know, the strip and the.
Yeah. Well, good for them because, you know, the way they've raised the prices and everything. And I've got friends that work in the casinos. You know, they raise the prices. They're ruining their own self by raising the prices the way they do. They're ruining the tourists. I mean, they really are. Why would anybody want to come here when you used to get a breakfast for $1.99 or a buffet for, $5.99? Now it's ridiculous. And I just laugh at it. I have nothing to do with it. Yeah.
All right, sir. Proceed.
Anybody else say that? Well, real quick about the war. My brother was in Bahrain, the first Iraq war. And when I was talking to him on the phone, I was here in Las Vegas, he had to get off the phone and put on a gas mask. Ever since then, war, oh my God. We should not be where we are now, and we should not have been where we were before. That goes all the way back to Vietnam and Korea, all of it. I have a lot. I'm your age, Lionel, and I have a lot to say about it. So here's my question to you and your listeners. If war, before we get into it, if we knew it would cost us tens of billions or $100 billion, would we do it then? If there was a guaranteed heavy cost, would we do it then? And I wonder what these jackasses that sit in their suits up there making the decisions. I wonder what they would do then. That's all.
Well, the answer, no, you got a good point there. But the answer is the people who are making the decisions are the people who are making the money. And the answer would be yes. They could not care less about, listen, some people want war because they want land. They want to take something. And they want land for different reasons. It might be for the infrastructure. They might, it's interesting that during the Afghan war, it turns out that Afghanistan was the Saudi Arabia of lithium. It was and copper and gold. And so it just so happened that this epicenter of all this happened to be the one of the greatest sources of lithium, which of course is used in batteries and everything as well as long as rare earth. So the idea that war is being done to stop an ideology is ridiculous. The idea, for example, Vietnam was we have to go because we have to stop communism. And once we stop communism, we leave and everything's fine. That's it. And that's not it. Because two things happen. Either we're going to take something that country has, we will take the land itself, or the process of war is so beneficial that we will make money in the methodology of war itself. And then when we build back the area that we helped destroy, then we'll charge them again. And then when they can't pay the tab, then we own it. So no, war is never done. And by the way, Keith, thank you. And I'm so sorry for your loss. And I mean that. I'm not just saying that gratuitously. But whenever we talk about war, it's never for the reasons they give you. War is always unnecessary. Not addressing the problem. Addressing the problem is very, very easy. That can be done elsewhere. But war, conventional war, it's obscene. More coming up on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. In that one moment where she gave this impassioned kind of a rap thing, this unnecessary vibrato, very weird, anyway. So Matt at the time put the lyrics together and came up with this AI version, kind of a calypso ska kind of a style. And it was absolutely one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. AI is going to destroy everything. Let me tell you something right now. Believe me when I tell you this. Take it to the bank. Write it down. You are going to hear an AI, when it becomes perfected, when more AGI, you're going to hear AI talk radio. You're going to hear AI. You're going to hear AI news. You're going to hear AI newspapers. You're going to have a radio station that is not a radio station. You know, for example, Uber. Where is Uber? What is Uber? Uber is a corporate office, but there is no Uber. It's just it's an app, and it connects with drivers and that sort of thing. But there is no place. It's not like on the the West Side here. We have taxi garages like the show Taxi. And one of these days you're going to have it. Now, when I remember years ago in radio, when I first started 38 years ago, I guess, there was this new phenomenon. In fact, Bill, you remember this, where all of a sudden there would be, I was at one station where we had Cool 101, Jazz 901, Paradise 403, Rock 403, all these stations that didn't exist. There were a room with basically, I don't know what you want to call them. They were just switching stations. And they had the announcer they had an announcer who would announce the calls or whatever. Well, not calls, the songs. There would be a donut, as it was called. It was a hole in the particular presentation. So you could put local advertising, whatever you wanted to do. And there was no Paradise 101.3 or it didn't exist. It wasn't there. There wasn't a building. It wasn't the people themselves. It didn't matter where people were. Anyway, so that was then. And somebody said, you can't do that. Well, they did do it. And now Spotify has come along, which, by the way, is the greatest thing anybody's ever seen as far as I'm concerned. And it's changed everything. So what happens was, what's going to happen is, people who were born in captivity, young people in particular, are going to say, I don't care whether it's a real person or not. I don't care about that. It doesn't mean anything to me. I don't have human interaction. If I go to a CVS, I do my own checkout. If I talk to a doctor, I talk to an AI person. I don't know it doesn't matter to me. The same thing goes, and this is going to be the most interesting. What if I take all of the music of Bruce Springsteen? By the way, his politics is political infantilism. He's juvenescent when it comes to the complexity of his thought. But in any event, his songs are good. So what if I listen to him and I say, okay, you know what? This is where I think his style would be today if he didn't stop. When people get to be of a certain age, they lose their creativity. Billy Joel was writing songs every 2 minutes. Bob Dylan was writing songs every 3 minutes. The Beatles and McCartney. You get to a certain age where they just don't have it anymore. I don't know why. I don't know what the story is. They just don't have it. Remember the story that when after 9/11, Springsteen wrote "The Rising," which is interesting. It was a good song. He has very good ways of kind of capturing the sound or the feeling, even though the words may not have anything to do with anything. Okay, so there was Paul McCartney's version was freedom, talking about freedom. The buildings were knocked down, people were covered in dust, and he's talking about freedom. I don't know what the hell he was talking about. So you get to a certain point where you're not able to, you're just not, you're not the fountain or the font of creativity. So somebody comes along and they say, I put your work into my database and I ask my AI or AGI or ASI component, say, where would the music be today if, let's say, we could take this creative surge moment from Springsteen and create it now? But I don't want it to sound like Springsteen. I want it to be somewhat similar. And I want to take his ideas, and I have come together with something, and I have basically taken it. But I haven't. But I have. But I haven't. And you listen to it, and you might say, that kind of sounds familiar. But all you know is that you like the song, and you want to hear it. And I think there were a couple of people on either Spotify or something who had number one, the status number one, whatever the particular rank is. And they couldn't figure out exactly who this person was because the person didn't exist. Okay. Pardon that roundabout prolegomenon, as we say. But the bottom line is simply this. Nobody cares about this. If you're going to read a book, you like the book. You don't care if somebody writes this. You don't care whether somebody talking to you, whether you know his name, or whether he's married or he's got a kid. It doesn't matter. There are some things that just won't matter. If at first people will listen to something because of the novelty, and then later on they'll say, you know what, I don't care. This is good enough. But then something else happens. Listen carefully to this. As you know, there are these strong men, these people who pick things up. There's that fellow on YouTube, that guy Anatoly or whatever his name is. He pretends to be cleaning up the gym, if you believe this, and he picks up. He could deadlift, thousands of pounds. And make a long story short, we want to see a human being do this. What am I saying? Okay. This guy can deadlift, let's say, 900 pounds. Great. Well, I've got a machine over here. I've got a backloader, a backhoe that can pick up the same thing. Well, we don't care about that. Well, do you want me to pick up this? Well, no, I don't want you to. It's not that you're picking up this weight, is that a human is doing this. Oh, I see. How about a human, who's the fastest human? Is it Usain Bolt? Yeah. What about next to a greyhound? No, of course not. So you're not after speed, are you? No, you're after the fastest human. Ah. The greatest chess player, the GOAT, is Magnus Carlsen. He is the greatest, maybe of all time, maybe of any era, any time. Okay. What's interesting to note is that he even admits the chess game in your phone can beat him. But you don't want to see that. You want to see him against a human. So what I'm saying is, in this rather desultory introduction, is that there are some things that we always want to see humans do. You want to watch professional football with human beings. You do. Robots won't cut it. You want to see the sound, the cry. You just do. You may find bartenders human more profitable. Don't know yet. Most people will find live theater. I don't think you want to see AI. I don't know if you want to see animatronics. I don't think so. Certain things are never going to go away. Now, teaching, you're not going to need humans for that. In fact, tutoring is going to be the way to go. The idea of classrooms is going to be completely removed because people will have tutoring, and tutoring will work better. You will have lesson plans designed for individual students. So some jobs are obviously going to go away. Other things are going to be introduced that you never thought were possible. But certain things will never go away. Never. Because for whatever reason, the market will not be satisfied with some machine version of this. Let's go to Charlie in Cherry Hill. Get ready for this one, my friends. You're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Thank you for taking my call. The reason why I called very quickly is I want to give my condolences to the previous caller who lost both his wife and his daughter. That's terrible. But I disagree awful with it. I mean, vehemently with the point he was trying to make. He called people jackasses who were for the war and are about the current war we're having with Iran. What he completely forgot to mention.
He didn't say Iran.
Oh, I thought he said the current war in the Middle East situation.
Well, that's almost over. I hope.
I hope so too. But we had, from the intelligence reports that I've heard about, at least I haven't seen them myself, but I read that Iran was very close to developing nuclear weapons, like within weeks or months away. It was very close to getting a bomb, which it most certainly would have used. So, I mean, I think Iran was a clear and present danger that it had to be dealt with. I mean, that their government is not composed of rational actors.
And what is your basis for that, Charlie?
You mean the government, not the people, but the government of Iran?
No. What is the basis for your assessment that they were days or weeks away from this?
My assessment of that is my basis for that is it was reported on Fox News television and this station, which I listened to, that the intelligence reports from our CIA had developed that. Yes.
Well, here's something interesting.
It was reported.
Here's something interesting. Go ahead. Here's something interesting. U.S. intel has repeatedly assessed Iran was not actively building a nuclear weapon. In 2025, DNI, who just resigned, whatever, because of her husband, but Tulsi Gabbard told Congress that intelligence community continued to assess that Iran was not building a nuclear weapon and that Supreme Leader Khamenei had not reauthorized the weapons program suspended in 2003. Now, this is first thing. Then the IAEA said that it had no evidence Iran was building a bomb. This watchdog group had raised serious concern about uranium enrichment and transparency, but that is not the same as proof of an active weapons program. Iran's known nuclear weapons related work was assessed as halted in 2003, and that has long been the central U.S. intel position, even while warning Iran preserved technical capacity. And as you know, enrichment is not the same as weaponization. Uranium enrichment can shorten a breakout time, but a deliverable nuclear weapon requires design and testing and miniaturization and delivery and all that other kind of stuff. So either way, I hope there's going to be a peaceful resolution. I don't want war. But when you say something, when you say, well, I watched Fox News, or I watched CNN, or I read whatever it is, ask yourself, is this all the data that I have? Is this all the data that is out there? Do I know everything about this? Tulsi Gabbard, I don't think is by any stretch of the imagination un-American. And I think her political future is going to be significant. But she disagreed vehemently. Many, many people believe that's why she ultimately left. So anyway, Charlie, I appreciate your call. But just remember one thing. Get all of the information. Don't just adhere to one particular venue of information. Thank you, Charlie. Let's go to Tom in New Jersey. Tom, you're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Good morning.
Yes,
I was going on the idea of how men like to watch men work. I think that no matter where you go in the world, if you had a construction job and it was all boarded off with with wood, you would have to drill a hole in it because men would want to see what the hell you're doing in there.
Why is that?
Right? Because that's just the way it is.
Why do you think that is? Why don't women? Why don't women have that same interest?
I don't know. I'm just saying, men, they just gotta see what the hell you're doing, and then maybe throw in some comments and some ideas.
Well, okay. Now, using your particular theory, and I think there's a lot to be said for that. What do we glean from that? What do we take from that?
Maybe it's just a natural thing. We gotta see.
No, I know that, but I appreciate that. But how do we? Okay, you made this observation.
Maybe that's all that is. That's to it. You know.
But what made you? I'm curious.
Simple.
What inspired you? I'm curious. In what context were you inspired to bring this up? Just curious.
Well, I didn't tune in right away. It sounded like you were talking about working and watching and something like that.
No, but I do think you're right. I think that in the old days when you would raise a hood, men would come around to see what you were looking at. I have not raised the hood of my sedan in I don't think ever.
Well, it's just the idea that a lot of men. Well, I wouldn't say all men. You know, they got the girly men out there that just don't care about that.
Tom, let me tell you something. I want to thank you for your call, and I think I speak on behalf of all of us right now that your thesis is riveting, absolutely riveting. Not only that, scintillating. Russ in White Plains. Russ, you're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
I think we can glean that that's how primates learn, by watching other primates, and that Tom is afraid of being a girly man himself. But Lionel, I would like to ask you something. You know, I don't agree. I agree with you a lot, but not about the guns. But I want to ask you about whether you think AI should determine foreign policy, and if it did, would it consider the establishment of Israel as a foreign policy blunder?
Oh, I don't know who knows? I mean, a blunder? A blunder?
Yeah. Taking into consider. I'm sorry.
You know, you're saying, would AI consider the formation of Israel as a blunder?
That's correct. Because look what happened in the wake of World War II. We split up Vietnam. We split up Korea. We split up all these states in order to divide and conquer. And sticking a Jewish supremacy government in the middle of the Mideast would basically guarantee unending conflict. I know you like to think it's over now, but it's not over now. And
no. What I'm saying is, but your question is this: would it be blunder? No, I don't think it would say blunder. Because the thing is, blunder, no. You're, first of all, relative to who gets to decide. I would think, if you look at this without knowing anything about this, whether you talk about that, whether you talk about the location or the inclusion perhaps of Ukraine in NATO, the repositioning after the fall of the Soviet Union, those individuals who actively sought the formation of Israel thought it was wonderful, thought it was great, knew there was going to be some bumps in the road, so to speak. From their point of view, it was glorious. It was wonderful. Other people may have said no. So the question is, from whose viewpoint would AI view anything?
Well, if AI gives us more complete information, I think it might be a good thing. But with the history of Israel's leaders killing off opposition, I'm questioning now, who killed JFK? Who killed JFK? And if we find out Israel did that, and we've been duped for the last 60 years.
Russ, can I ask you something?
Hey,
this is and I appreciate your call. Thank you for this. But where are we going with this? I like what somebody said. Listen. Thank you for calling. Number one, ask yourself, relative to whom? AI is going to sit there and say, do I have an idea that maybe perhaps, think about this. Everybody says, this might not have been a good thing. this might not have been a good thing. One of the issues is that whenever you look at something like this, especially the Middle East, you have to ask yourself, again, relative, who's going to determine the frame of reference of this? AI cannot sit there and say, okay, based upon the totality of the circumstances, we're going to take the position of Israel or Zionists or whatever you want to call it. We're going to put them in one pile, and we're going to compare it to its surrounding neighbors who obviously do not necessarily see anything eye to eye, and we're going to balance the two, and I'm going to come up with a reason as to who makes the most sense. Good luck with that one. That might be theoretically impossible to come up with an answer where you get a purely empirical, this is right or this is wrong. Think about that. It's a fascinating question. Now, there's another thing too. Who killed JFK? Do you really think there is an answer? And what I mean by that, for example, a friend of mine, give you an example. I asked a friend of mine one time, I said, do you believe, I said, what is the cause of cancer? He's a physician. I said, is it environmental? Is it genetic? Is it epigenetic? Is it diet? What is it? And he said, yes. I said, what do you mean yes? He goes, it's everything. It's everything. Everything is a reason for this. So there is no one reason. Does smoking cause cancer? Yeah. Really? Not everybody who smokes gets cancer. Well, so the question is, who killed JFK? Is it Israel? Is it the mob? Is it CIA? Is it Allen Dulles? Is it Lyndon Johnson? Is it Mac Wallace? One person? No, it's a totality. It's a combination. But if I wrote a book, I know, for example, like our good friend Roger Stone believes it's Mac Wallace and Johnson, and I'm not going to argue the point now, but if that's your thesis and that is your book and that's your frame of reference, that's how you're going to see everything. Some people believe that everybody believes they have a reason, that the reason that Israel killed JFK, or that his desire to either get off of not the gold standard, but the silver standard, or it was Allen Dulles, or he was going to destroy the CIA. Everybody has that frame of reference, and they see this incredibly fascinating mosaic of possibilities vis-a-vis their own worldview. Let me also tell you, there are so many people who are so committed to a particular ideology or a particular outcome that they can see nothing else. So it's a very complicated question and a fascinating one nonetheless. Let's go to Anthony on Long Island. Anthony, you're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Our leadership have created so much distrust in our society by all the nonsense they've pulled. They're leading by emergencies, and they've been doing so. I'll give you an instance. COVID-19, prior to us even knowing the word COVID-19, there was a news report stating that Kim Jong-un, the guy from North Korea, was going to release a secret Christmas present on the world. He had stated that there was something coming during the Trump administration, a secret Christmas surprise. Do you remember that, Lionel?
Oh, yes.
And that story went by the wayside, and then it was a wet market that it came from. Well, we know Fauci lied. We know Andy Cuomo covered up the books, and he had to leave office over squeezing ass. But we know that there was something more dubious at play there, because it was one of his staffers that outed him as a form of a whistleblower. We never got to hear from her. And the whole story went away as Cuomo walked away because he likes girls in the office, you know? So in this country, war is okay. To kill thousands and millions of people, they'll build your library. But if you want to go on a date with a girl, that's, Nancy Pelosi, the all red will come out of the woodwork.
What are you talking about? Wait. This is fascinating.
I'm talking about the military.
How did you get, wait a minute, stop for a second. Stop. How did you get from the military industrial, or whatever it was, to Andrew Cuomo if you want to date a woman in your office? What are you talking about? Where is it going?
our educated class have destroyed the solvency, the legitimacy of our government is based.
Wait a minute. What did Andrew Cuomo wanting to date people in his office? How did that enter this? What was that component? What is that about?
I'm sorry, I don't understand you. I'm sorry. Please explain.
You brought up Andrew Cuomo and his problems with allegations of sexual misconduct or whatever it was, right? You brought that up.
Yes.
How did that work? How did you go from losing our faith in?
Because he should have went to jail.
What does it have to do with your initial premise? And John Wayne Gacy is a serial killer. What the hell does that have to do with anything? But that's a true to connect the two.
Something to you, Lionel. Lionel, as a young man, my mother taught me that
now
if
we're
you
on to
get
your
in trouble, you do.
Okay, start off with your initial premise. You're throwing in things that are true, but have nothing to do with where you started.
It has to do with COVID-19 and the fact that we've been.
How did you go from COVID-19 to Andrew Cuomo to what your mother taught you?
Andrew Cuomo covered up the numbers. Andrew Cuomo knew that they.
But he had nothing to do with the discovery of.
But he covered it up, didn't he?
Wait a minute. That has nothing to do with the detective. Now you're all over the place. Wait a minute. That has nothing to do with Fauci and the source of Ebola.
By other virus and released it on the world, and nobody has been held accountable. In fact, they even granted themselves pre-pardons for using a biological weapon that they created and they released on the world.
Now pivot back to Andrew Cuomo again. How do you do that?
Cuomo, the books. And he went out of office for what? Sexual proclivities?
Do you understand this? Do you understand that what you're doing is you're making a sentence. There's no interconnectivity to any of this stuff. Each of the sentences are true, but they have nothing to do with each other. They're kind of related.
Yeah. No, well, it's kind of related to the fact that Alan Dulles and the CIA.
Alan Dulles? Hey, Anthony, thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. I hope everybody heard that. Each story was independently true. Independently true. E. coli, what am I saying? Ebola I wanted to talk about because that's going to be the next one, by the way. But COVID-19 was as a wet market. It was in Wuhan. Joseph P. Kennedy lobotomized his daughter because she was showing sexual promiscuity at a young age. Alan Dulles and his brothers basically used militarized intel agencies to help to promote private corporations secure. AI is, okay, I take 4 different things. Each of them are correct, but none of them are interconnected. There's no, okay, how does this work together? There's no linear thinking. It's like, well, what does this have to do with it? What does Andrew Cuomo and any kind of misconduct allegations have to do with this, with the initial part about Fauci and Wuhan and the wet market and all that stuff? What? Well, he covered it up. Yeah, but what does this have to do with anything? What about the idea that mask regulations were a waste of time? That Fauci, we didn't have to wear masks. They didn't do anything. They weren't at all. That was unnecessary. That was a way to basically indoctrinate or to control or to increase some kind of, I don't know, some weird kind of Pavlovian, submission. But it has nothing to do with anything. That's a fact, but it's kind of related. I just hope you heard that. That was one of the most fascinating examples of thinking that's not connected, but basically off the rails. I find it fascinating. I hope you did as well. And children, don't ever do this in mixed company. This is Lionel with you on Another Side of Midnight. It was a smooth end of that. I appreciate that. I like that. Let's go back to the phones, my friend. Back to the fun and the waning moments of this. Let's see who looks good. Let's see who looks fascinating. Let's go to Mike in South Carolina. Mike, you're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Top of the morning, Lionel.
Thank you, Mike.
Always good. Always good to hear you on the radio. I acknowledge all the good people that work at the radio and good callers. There was a guy that called before from White Plains. He got kicked off Dominic Carter's show. I mean, he's a loose cannon. He belongs in a straitjacket.
I don't care. I mean? Let's talk about us, Mike. Let's talk about us.
No, yeah, I don't really care about him either. But you keep doing what you're doing, and that's why I continue to listen. You know,
Mike, thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it so much. Seriously, thank you. Let's get a couple calls in. Let's go to Dave in New Jersey. Dave, you're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Good morning. Listen, if you write down, the Illuminati likes to use Latin a lot. Okay, so the Illuminati.
By the way, Dave, I like the sound of this. It sounds like a ransom call. I have your daughter for $10,000 in unmarked bills. I know where you live. Don't ever call the Domino's right now. They'll hang up. I'm sorry, Dave.
Hey.
Go ahead, sir.
Listen, write down Omicron and write down Delta, and then underneath it, write media control. You're going to match up every letter because the Illuminati likes to do this. And a lot of the people out there that don't know about the 33rd degree Masons, the ones that don't know about them, their children, they're having third encounters of the special kind because I'm around them. I'm around two of them down here in Apple Pie
And don't
Hill.
forget one thing, Dave. Don't forget one thing. How old was Jesus when he was How old was Jesus?
33.
There you go.
The numbers,
What's half
man.
of 66? 33. Sergio Mendes,
The
Brazil
33rd
66
parallel
divided by
line
2,
runs right
33.
through Charleston, South Carolina. The 33rd parallel line runs right through Charleston, South Carolina, and Jerusalem.
And
It's all
11
about the
times
numbers,
3
man.
is
Biblical
33.
numbers.
And what is the 3?
Occult
The triad, the
numerology.
troika, the
Occult
trinity.
numerology, occult numerology, and biblical new era.
And here's
I know
another thing,
you're
too, and I
trained, man.
appreciate this. Remember one thing. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Please call me again. And understand one thing. Remember, and the question you have to ask is the alphabet in that order because of the song? And if it's neither here nor there, where is it? And how do you ship styrofoam? And why do we sterilize a needle before a lethal injection? Think about this. All of this makes a lot of sense. And all of it's there. All of it. No matter, just go deeper. Go deeper. Go deeper. Let's go to Mark in Syosset. You're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Good morning, Lionel. I want to let you know I love
Good
this
morning,
show
sir.
and I set my alarm to listen to it every day.
Thank you,
should be
sir.
on more. Can I ask you, why is it that Iran has not yet developed a bomb? It's been going on for 40 years, and it's taken them this long, and they cannot get the bomb. Every couple of years,
Well,
it's coming, and then they die down. Oh, it's coming.
Well, what do you think?
I think, you know what I think? I think it's just a ploy to make North Korea has the bomb, and they're a much poorer country than Iran. Iran's got, how much more money than North Korea? They have the bomb. How come they can't develop the bomb in all these years? I mean, since as a kid, Iran's going to get the bomb, and they don't have it yet.
Mark, you're going to be the last caller. I thank you so very much. Fascinating questions and a fascinating show tonight. Thank you so very much. Mr. Bill Lee at the helm, stewarding the helm with the reins in his hand. Thank you so much for your incredible work. And Elias, what can I tell you, my friends? My friend, your assiduous ability to wade through the morass, through this weird kind of, I don't know, verbally peripatetic, this gumbo, you are without peer, and I thank you. And thank you, dear friends, for listening. We'll see you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel, right here on another side of midnight with me, Lionel. And don't forget these following words, this valedictory. The monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Da-da.